All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott, formerly of Rankin Technical College. And as part of my new YouTube channel, JPS-Jeff Teaches Programming, which you can get to by either doing a YouTube search here, and I think you don't even need the @ sign, or clicking right here, you'll find the videos that I've created so far in my YouTube playlist, Jeff Teaches Programming Python. What I have created in there so far has been about 15 or so lectures. And what I did was I started out by doing some very introductory lectures where I talked about Python in general, did a simple program or two, all right, and then we went in and looked at the Python keywords. I had several lectures where I went over most, maybe not all, but most of the Python keywords. From there we went on. Another thing I did in this Python keywords is I created a calculator program. So you'll notice in here I had a bunch of the things with keywords, and then there was a calculator program right here too. All right, from there I went on and did another calculator program and some guessing game programs. This one is mine, this guessing game right here, and these were from a guy, an author online named Al Schweigert. Okay, finally where I am right now is I've come in here and I've created both a BMI program, an updated calculator program, and several programs that deal with payroll. But where this particular example is going to change based on what I had done earlier, as I want to show you this, is the following. Now, you can go out to right here and take a look at what I'm talking about, and that is the w3schools.com site. Go to Python list methods ASP. I'm going to do 4 programs, and they may take more than one lecture a piece, but I'm going to start going over some of the data structures that are associated with Python. And the order in which I'm going to do them is I'm going to first go and talk about lists, then I'm going to go into dictionaries, then I'm going to go into tuples, and finally I'm going to go into sets. All right, I'm going to basically to go through this, a lot of the same program, which I'm going to rewrite using first a list, then a dictionary, then tuples, then sets. And when I do all this, I'm not yet using object-oriented programming. I will eventually. But when you look here for Python lists, you can see the different stuff that's in here. I'm not going to go over any of these right now. All right, other than to say with a list, it looks like this. As it says, it's used to store multiple items in a single variable. Lists are very similar to what you have in other languages that are called arrays. Now, that said, a list in Python is very similar to an array in JavaScript. What I mean is, in this example here, they're creating a list called myList, but everything inside of the brackets is a string. You don't have to do that. You can make, again, they're showing some examples here, but notice you can go and have a string, have a list with different kinds of variables. All right. Now, what I want to get to is this. You can all read this if you have, if you so desire. But what I want to do is these are the list methods, and there are, let's make this a little smaller here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different methods here. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use virtually all of these methods in the next program I do, with the exception, I thought this one might be a little hard for people to understand, the extend, which we might go back and put that in later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a program that's going to use append, clear, copy, count, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, and sort. It's going to use all those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, like I said, and it's not going to involve any object orientation. So my goal is in this lecture, and maybe one more, maybe two more, I don't know, is to write a basically kind of a payroll program that allows us to do this stuff. All right. And it uses lists. Then I want to go back and rewrite the same program using dictionaries. Then I want to go back and rewrite the same program using tuples. Finally, I want to go back and rewrite the same program using sets. After I get done with all of that, I want to introduce object-oriented programming and then go back and look at how we could make these programs that I'm going to write now better, so to speak, by using object orientation. Now, hopefully that made a little bit of sense as far as an introduction. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in to where I've been working. All right. And I'm going to open this up with code. And again, you'll notice that once I do this, if you look at, I don't need this at all anymore. See, I can save it. But what do we have in here? A BMI program, a calculator program, these four payroll programs. I went over these in the last lectures, but this was a very simple one where I hard coded in everything. Then I went back and changed the hard coding to input statements. Then I went back and started to write some more and broke this up so that we have some modularization in here. But there was a lot of duplication, so I went back and got rid of basically the duplication in here. All right, you can go back and look at all these. Okay, they'll all be out there, and we'll talk about that at a later time. Now I'm going to write a new payroll program, but rather than calling this Payroll 05, which would be fine, I'm going to call this one Payroll List Non-OOP.py. And then later I hope to write another one that I'm going to call Payroll List OOP.py. All right. Now, nothing wrong with this, but I'm just going to close that so I've got plenty of room. And I'm going to write a big comment in here. All right, to show you what I'm going to attempt to do right now. Remember, I can use double quotes there or single quotes. It doesn't matter. So I want to create a Python program, and it'll be a Python console program. We're not talking yet about GUI. So a Python console program, which does the following. All right. And basically it's going to, in fact, let's do this, which I'll do it like this. Uses one or more Python lists to get, display, modify, delete the following information about employees. Now this is going to look very similar to what I have been doing, but yet it will be different. All right. Each employee is going to have 6 fields, at least 6 to start. All right. So each employee will have an employee number. That's new. Each employee will have a first name. Each employee will have a last name. Each employee will have an hours worked. Each employee will have an hourly rate. And each employee will have a gross pay. Now that really isn't new other than the employee number. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put this in here. So field name, in fact, let's move that over one. There we go. So that's this. All right. And then we're going to write in here, for lack of better words, we'll write restrictions. Maybe not the best verbiage, but it's what I'm going to use. All right, so each employee number must be unique. In other words, two employees cannot have the same number. The employee first name, just like before, cannot be empty. The employee last name, just like before, cannot be empty. The hours worked, just like before, must be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 84. And again, we use constants, but I just wanted you to be able to see that. All right, the actual numbers that are going to be associated with this. Each employee has a rate, which again must be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 99.99. Again, I've mentioned this to you before. These are just arbitrary values that I came up with. All right, finally, each employee must have a gross pay, and this will be non-OT. The calculation will be the employee hours worked times the employee hourly rate, and for overtime calculation will be this plus the hours they worked. Do it like this. The hours they worked minus 40 times their hourly rate times 1.5, which is going to be the overtime rate. Okay, so we'll leave that. So those will be our fields. All right, so we'll have these 6 fields. I could have put a lot more in. I didn't want it to be so big that it made it hard for people to understand. And I wanted it to be similar enough to what we done earlier that people could hopefully get what we're doing. So, whoops. In addition, use the following Python list methods. Okay, and they will be append, and what append does, let me move this all over. This will add an employee, add a new employee to the end of the list, to the end of list. Okay, next we'll have clear to remove all employees from list. Next, we will have copy, which will create a copy of the employee list. I should be consistent here, so let's see. Okay, next we're going to have count, and count will return the number of employees in the list. This up a little. Then we'll have index, which will return the index of a specified employee. We'll just say there. And it'll be based on the employee number. All right. Next, we'll have insert to add a new employee at a specified position. All right, next will be pop. Which will remove an existing employee from a specified position. Next, we have remove. All right, a couple more. 9 is reverse. And finally, the last one is sort. Now, let's take a look at what we've got in here so far. All right, we're creating a Python console program, and that Python console program will use one or more Python lists to allow us to do different operations. All right, each employee will have an employee number. Each employee will have a first name, a last name, a number of hours they worked, an hourly rate, and they will get a gross pay. Now, I'm not going to read these restrictions. I've already gone over them with you. In addition, I plan on using 10 out of the 11 Python list methods. All right. Now, a couple more things I want to do with this. I want to write each input, or let's just say each list method as its own function. Okay, and so not just each list method as its own function, but also I want to input each piece of employee info as its own function. So in other words, I want one that'll input the employee number, one that'll input the employee first name, one to input the employee last name, one to input the employee hours worked, one to do the employee hourly rate, and one for the gross pay, utilizing those restrictions. Then I want there to be an append function, a clear function, a copy function, a count function, an index function, an insert function, a pop function, a remove function, a reverse function, and a sort function. All right, so in addition, write each list method as its own function. Okay? This program will not use OOP, which is object-oriented programming. All right. Finally, all right, where we've got this write each list method as its own function, all right, I'm going to add these methods into a menu to let the user choose what option they desire. So that's the plan right now. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. All right. Now, again, there are lots and lots of different ways that this can be done. I want to say that again. There are a lot of different ways in which this can be done. All right. Now, one of the things I'm going to add down near the bottom, but for now I don't really have a bottom, so let me hit enter about 10 times right there. Quite often, if you're working with a really complex Python program, you might have one file, the contents of one file, call the contents of another file. And if that doesn't make sense, all we're saying is what we've been doing so far is we've been using a single program to do what we want to do. And we're going to continue that for a while. But I want to write this as though I don't have to do that. All right. And what do I mean? I'm going to type in this. All right. I'm going to type in if underscore underscore name underscore underscore double equals underscore underscore main underscore underscore. So if that's the case, all right, I'm going to call something. Now, what do I want to call? Well, before I go on, I want to explain a couple things to you. Again, this particular example is using one or more Python lists. When I get done, I want to utilize pretty much this same example, but instead of lists, I want to use dictionaries. Then when I get done with that one, instead of using lists or dictionaries, I want to use tuples. Finally, rather than using lists or dictionaries or tuples, I want to use sets. So I want to be able to combine as much of this stuff as I possibly can. Now, why am I even telling you that? Well, one thing you may or may not remember, what we started talking about actually in here, if you remember, I added this file here, this JPS math, and that added a bunch of our functions into a program. All right. And then we went back into the program, and now instead of having those functions inline, we called them. We call the functions from the actual program here. The reason I am telling you that is what I want to do is I want to start utilizing the same type of constructs. What do I mean? Well, when we run this, the first thing I want to do, you might think, well, I want to show this menu. That's not true. I want to explain the type of program that we're utilizing. So in other words, it's kind of the equivalent of I want to create a header. Then I want to create a menu. All right. So I want to create a header and a menu, and I want to be able to utilize that header or maybe multiple headers. I might write one header that's going to be done for Python lists, another one for Python dictionaries, etc. Or I might use one where I pass in the information that I need. And again, if you don't get it, just please keep watching. All right. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to add right now a new file. And I'm going to call this Python header.py. All right. And what that's going to have in it is basically it's going to set up the title. Okay. So I'm going to type in here def get title. And I'm going to pass in, all right, the title type. All right, if this doesn't make sense, please just bear with me for a bit, please. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say print welcome to my Python program. Okay, fine. In fact, welcome to my Python payroll program. Okay, and then I'm going to say this program will utilize, and let's make these F strings, even though I don't need to for this one, but I will in this one. This program will utilize Python title type. Okay. Now, why am I showing you this? Because the first time I do this, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call get title. I'm going to call get title from here. All right, but I have to bring this in. So this is Python header.py. So I'm going to import Python header, but I'm going to do it as header. So I just have a little shorter name. All right, so one of the first things I'm going to do is down here is I'm going to call, so I'm going to put in here header dot, and look what's in there, get title, and I'm going to pass in here lists. All right, if this works, hopefully what's going to happen if I run this in just a moment is it's going to come in here and it's going to call this and it's going to say, welcome to my Python program. This program will utilize Python lists. Let's see if indeed that works. All right, doesn't like something. I'm not worried about it yet, but let's see. It didn't show anything, which is not good, but we'll see. So print, welcome to my Python program. All right, print, this program will utilize Python. Looks right to me. So let's go back and see if we can, don't need that, but let's go back to this. Okay, so it should be calling this. Let's first, while I, in my mind, try to see if I can figure out what the problem is, let's talk about this line right here. All right, I actually went out and Googled it and looked, and basically what they say online is this is what's known as boilerplate code. So it's the kind of thing that's typically used in a program. All right, it is typically used in a program, and it's used to protect users from accidentally invoking a script when they don't mean to invoke a script. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but I don't want to confuse people. All right? So this, I wanted this to be the first thing that got called, but it appeared as though either it wasn't getting called or something was goofed up on it. So let's look. Import Python header as header. That's good. So that should bring that in. We're calling it header. Maybe it doesn't like this. I don't know. Let's call it, header, it's not lit up, so it shouldn't be. We'll call it p header. And we'll change this to p header. All right. So I wanted it to call get title. So it would come in here and it was passing in lists for this. So I wanted it to say, welcome to my Python payroll program. This program will utilize Python lists. Now, I'm not sure why that's not working. Let's try something just to see if it works. Okay. All right. I'm going to comment this out for now. Like I said, I don't see why that would be any kind of problem. But let's go in and write a main. And we better def it. Okay. And we're going to call in here pheader.getTitle, and we'll pass in lists. I want to see if it works like this if we don't use this. So File, Save All, run this again. And let's totally clear all this out. Let's run it again. Yeah, for some reason it is not recognizing what is in here. I would be willing to bet you that if I grab this and put this into here, put it in the main like this. Oops, sorry. Try that again. There we go. That that'll work. No reason to think that wouldn't work. And look at that. That isn't working either. So something is definitely hosed here. Okay. Oh, I know what it is here. I'm not calling main. So let me call main. Okay. All right. So we've got welcome to my Python program. This will use lists. Okay. So does have that. Now let's see if we do this. It's calling this one too, so that one is working. So let's grab this, get rid of this, and let's run it again. And I'm going to come down to where we are running it. Well, there it is. Welcome to my Python payroll program. This program will utilize lists. So it is doing that. It is working with that one. That's good. All right. All right. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to write another file over here, and I'm going to call this Python list menu. Okay, .py. In fact, let me change this from Python header. Yeah, we'll keep that one. That's fine. And we're going to change this one to Python menu. All right, so we've got a new one that we're going to put in here that's called Python menu. All right, so let's define that. And we'll put in here as a parameter menu type. All right, and what we're going to have in here are different types. So I want to do a match of menu type. All right, so if I do a case here of list, okay, this is going to be what I want to have happen if it's a list. Okay, so we will print Python list menu. Okay. Enter a 1 to add a new employee. enter a 2 to clear the employee list. Enter a 3 to copy the employee list. And just because I'm a little squirrely about that, there we go. Enter a 4 to count how about this? To show the number of employees. I want all of them to be pretty much the same size here. So I'll close this. Enter a 5 to find an employee index. And don't worry if you don't know what these are. We're going to write all these in just a bit. Print. Enter a 6 to insert a new employee at position X. And X will be something we'll define. Enter a 7 to remove, also known as pop, employee from position X. Enter an 8 I want to pretty this up. I want this to look decent when it prints in a minute. To remove an employee via employee number. Enter a 9 to reverse the employee list. Again, these are all routines we'll have to write. Print, enter a 10 to sort the employee list. And it'll be by employee number. So I'm going to shorten this. Well, we'll do it like this, by employee number. Enter an 11, I'm going to move all those again, to display all employees. Let's make this a little nicer again. There we go. And finally, we'll say enter a 12 to exit the program now. All right. So those are going to be your choices. Okay. So we'll say choice equals input. Enter a 1 through 12 now, please. Okay. Now the problem is, all right, the problem is if we do all this, this isn't complete the way it is. All right. What if they don't enter a number, or they enter nothing, or whatever? All right. So let's come in here and say this. First of all, if user enters a 12, leave this function. So if choice equal a 12, we're just going to break. Okay? All right. So if choice equal 12, break. Now, right now it says break can only be used within a loop. Well, we're going to fix that in just a moment, so don't worry about it. Else, or elif, choice in options, which we don't have yet, but we're going to get it in a minute. Options, choice, employees. Again, we're going to go over all this. Finally, else, print invalid choice. Please try again. Try again. All right. Now, what is all this? I've got errors in here, etc. First of all, what I eventually want to be able to do is to add into this. Okay, I want to be able to come into here and say case dictionary. For now, I'm going to put a pass in there. I want a case tuple. Again, there'll be a pass in there. Finally, I want a case set. And there'll be a pass in there. So what I'm going to want to eventually do is I'm going to want to run this. I'm going to want to set up in here all of my menus. I could write different routines, and maybe that'd be cleaner to do it that way. Yeah, probably would be. All right. Now, let's go in and look at why I'm getting these errors, and let's fix them. Okay, so right now, this is what I'm doing in here. Okay, well, what I want to do first of all is I want to create a list that's going to hold all my employees. All right, so we've been doing things like this, like age equal 21, or we've been saying like first name equals Jeff, or stuff like that. Well, now we're working with things that are a little bit more complex, with a data structure, which is pretty much what a list is. Now, I've given this example before, and maybe it's a good example, maybe it stinks. I don't know. But I'll always remember this, that I was a student. Must have been about 1975 or something like that. So you know how long ago it was. All right, at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And I walked into my first class, which was a child psychology class. It was a lecture hall that held about 300 people. I got in there maybe 15 minutes early, so I got to sit down near the front. And the door was open for the room, and there was one window which didn't open, and it was August, so it was hot. All right, so the class was supposed to start at 8 o'clock. There's supposed to be an unwritten rule in colleges, at least at the university system. If the teacher isn't there within 15 minutes, you can leave. You're not marked absent, etc. Well, it was 8 o'clock. Boom, it was 8:05. Boom, it was 8:10. And about at 8:13, somebody walked in. We all thought it was going to be the professor. It was not. It was a teaching assistant who said the professor was a little bit behind this morning. Sorry, but stay in class. Stay here. He'll be here in about 10 minutes. Okay, fine. Imagine at that time, just imagine, and they wouldn't do this, but just we're kind of pretending here. But imagine at that time, all right, that the person running this came in and gave each one of us a Lego. Okay, we all had different Legos. So we all had this. So they came in and they basically gave each person something like this and said, he'll be there in 10 or 15 minutes. Here's a Lego for you to play with. Well, let's face it. I mean, how much can I do with this blue Lego? Stand it on its side, turn it over, etc. But if I ask the person next to me, hey, can I borrow your Lego? And now I put it on top of mine, I can start building something. And pretty soon, if all 300 of us put our stuff together, we could build something, whatever it would happen to be. A boat, a plane, a house, whatever. Well, the reason I'm telling you this is basically we're using a data structure. So we're using what we've been using so far, which are elementary data items, stuff that holds just one value. And now we're going to have things that can hold multiple values. That's what a data structure is. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say employees equal, and I'm going to just give it a blank empty list. So right now it's an empty list. There's nothing in it. Okay? All right. Then what I'm going to want to do is different things. All right? I'm going to want to, have this list, etc., and I want to be able to do all this stuff. Well, right now it's giving me an error here, and it says, hey, break can only be used within a loop. So let's put it within a loop here. I'm going to put in here while true. Now I'm going to have to move all this stuff over, otherwise I'm going to be getting errors. But now notice that error is gone. Okay? What I don't have right now, what I do not have are these options. Okay? So I've defined right now, I've defined my empty list. So right now this is going to be our list of employees. All right? But I don't have options. I haven't specified what these options are. So let's do that now. So I'm going to say here, options equal and again, I'm going to basically, for lack of better words, I'm going to add a list right here. It's not really a list. We're going to get into what all this is over time. But for now, I want to do it like this. So if we put in a 1, I'm going to want to call add new employee. Now, I don't have anything called add new employee, so it doesn't know what the hell that is. That's okay. If I enter a 2, it's going to call clear employee list. I'm taking those based right off of what's down here. And notice what's gone are those errors. All right. If I put in a 3, I'm going to call print a copy of the employee list. And I'm going to use something else in here that's new, and that's what's called the lambda. We're going to go over it in just a bit. All right. If I've got a 4, I want to call count employees. And you'll notice that when I'm doing this, add a new employee, add new employee, clear the employee list, clear employee list, copy the employee list. So we can call this copy employee list. All right. Show the number of employees. Change that to count. Count employees. All right. So as we keep going here, I'm going to have some more lambdas in here. So let me get these ready quick. So this is going to be 6. This is going to be 7. This is going to be 8. I'm getting errors because I haven't filled this in yet. So let's fill that in now. And we are going to pass to this the employee list and a prompt. All right, so let me move this down so you can see it. I'm not going to do that. I get all sorts of weird errors when I do that. So this is going to say input enter associated employee number. Okay, all right. Okay, so next. Get that down. All right, 9. A comma after each one of these. I think I've been forgetting the commas. Okay. 10. And an 11. Now again, I'm getting all these errors because I haven't written any of these routines yet. You'll notice, as an example, if I go and do this. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and let's put this one in there. I might have to change this around later, but we'll do that's fine. Add new employee .py. Like I said, I may have to change this around. But if I type in def, add new employee, paren, and put a pass there, then go back to my menu, all right, and this will have to come in and import, add new employee as, we'll call it add new. So if we put in here add new dot, notice how the error goes away. So all it's looking for in here is this routine, and it's not finding it, so it's giving me errors. All right. Now notice all of those errors that were in there before, they're all gone. Okay, so this is while true. We've got this. Like I said, this might have to be changed, or I'm doing this basically on the fly. Okay, so while true, true is not defined because it needs to be a capital T. There. All right. Now, if I run this, I'm going to get a ton of errors because, again, I don't have any of these written. I need a clear employee list. I need to count employees, etc. Let's change this, and let's put in here, instead of this add new employee, let's rename this, and let's call this list methods.py. Okay? So this will be list methods.py. Alrighty. Now, going back into our menu, notice since I told it to change it, we'll do this as list methods. And again, the error is gone. So I'm going to quickly grab this, and I must be getting up there in time. So, all right, I'm going to quickly grab this, and I'm going to come in here and quickly write all these as just empty methods inside of list methods. All right, and don't worry, I'm going to get a ton of errors right now, but we'll fix it in a second. So this will now be def clear employee list, and we'll pass. Then next, print, call it name, name 1, name 2, pass, that's def, we'll call it print them. Oh, this is copy employee. Copy employee list. Okay, so now that one's done. So this will be find employee index. I don't know why I went back and forth. Let's see. We're going to fix this all up in just a second. And we'll call this list name and prompt. That was count that I skipped, of course. And again, this will be a pass. Def count employees pass. This will become insert new employee. Which again will have the list name and call it the emp number. This will be called pop employee. This will be remove employee by emp number. Alright, this will be reverse employee list. Then we need sort employee list. And finally, display employee list. All right, let me fix these because I wanted to be consistent. Now I'm not being. So we're going to change that to add new employee, clear. It should be a little C. Clear employee list, copy employee list, count employees, find employee index, insert new employee, pop employee, remove employee by emp number, reverse employee list, sort employee list, and display employee list. All right. Okay. So this is list methods.py. So file, save all. Let's go back to our menu and let's fix this so we can actually run it. So here's the menu. This is all wrong right now, so we have to change this around. All right. So import list methods as, let's change this to just LM for list methods. So this will have to be LM. And now we're going to change all these. Dot. So notice what's here. See that? So clear employee list. So you can see this is going to be fixed in just a moment. This is going to be copy employee list. Now it doesn't like something there, so copy employee list. That only needed one parameter. Okay. So that fixed copy employee list, employees. What don't you like? Oh. LM dot. Okay, so there's that. Count employees. Again, will have to be LM dot. This will be LM dot find employee index. This will be LM dot insert new employee. This will be LM dot pop employee. This will be LM dot remove employee by emp number. This will be reverse employee list. This will be sort employee list. And finally, this will be display employee list. All right, sorry for the mess, but let's quickly go over this. All right. In here, I'm setting up my Python menu right there. Up here, I'm telling it that if we choose a 1 to call this, if we choose a 2 to call this, etc. We're handling the 12, which is the only one we don't have right there. Otherwise, we're saying if we have chosen 1 through 11, call that routine. If we put in something that's not 1 through 11, say invalid choice, please try again. All right, no idea if this is going to, I'm totally rewriting this on the fly from what I had in it originally. Well, let's run it and see what happens. Nothing. Well, that ain't good. All right, but let's see, we've got in here import list methods as LM, that's good. And in here, we have import Python header as p header. That's good. We have to also, I think, because we're never calling this. All right, so we have to also import, what do we call that? Python menu.py. And we'll do that as menu. I don't think menu is a keyword. So here we're calling this. So here we're going to call, we'll call it p menu. How's that? Because we call that p header. So p menu. Dot And what do we want to call in here? Well, what's in here? We want to call Python menu. And we want to pass in the type of menu. So it's going to be a list. I think that's what we put in here, right? List. Let's see if that changes what we have in here. So save all. Let's clear this. And let's run it again. Still are not getting any input. The output, I should say. All right, but we're over an hour, so I'm going to stop right now. Come back, and we're going to start by reviewing everything we've done so far, and then we'll go on. Okay, so I'll be back shortly.